So this may come as no shock to you, or maybe it will. It depends on how aware of America's history and its culture, and things that are, uh, for what it's worth, more open and public record and more that you can find yourself, even if it's a little difficult to just Google some of this. Because like Google is not really your friend for finding some of this. I mean that like some of the things that we have in America's history that are not the greatest things. Surprisingly enough, Google doesn't show them. Neither does Bing and even DuckDuckGo. So it's like you're gonna have to search a little. But here's this thing. It's like, okay, so there are a huge, it's a big bell curve, huge extremes on both the right and left of that bell curve, where I'll get into the middle first. All right, this one's really pretty funny to me because it's like, first and foremost, we have genuine, valid, like eyewitness record reports, news, and more that showcases that women and men, but generally speaking, it seemed to have been women around this time in the late 1700s, would just bum rush someone's fucking house and rape the dude or dudes or family. That's like an American history fucking fact. Not a legend, like a known thing that used to happen. Like you can definitely find that. Sorry. But it's a real thing. And it's like then there's that's like it's so common that like it's joking. You know what I mean? It's like it's a rape, like it's just like ah ha ha ha, he couldn't defend ah ha. Like it's seriously that level of commonality and viewed that way back at that point in time. Even kids would do it to fucking adults and other kids. Like, not even a joke. And then there's the like, we have this bourgeois aristocrats running the blah 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 country, law and big, movement things that we think about in the history of the scale blah stuff, right? But then it turns into like, yeah, and then there's the pioneer that had river pirates firing at him with cannons and burning the fucking fields he was trying to farm on. And like mass murderers just roaming the ginormous, not a heartland of America as of yet, because it's full of trees at that point, that would just, like, who gives it? Oh, you say it's going to be that. I don't care. I'm going to do this. You literally can't do anything. You have, like, nothing you can do. Who's going to stop the river pirates, huh? Who's stopping the river pirates? Like, legitimately, that's a genuine thing. And that's nothing if we're going to be really fucking just stab and twist a little bit here. People would just fucking form communities of an entirely different nation for a brief period of time here. We're talking like a couple decades, you know what I mean, at most, that were legitimately recognized but are not in history books the way they should really be. Like, America was not America. It was technically quite a few different things. And then there's the, like, we have the slavery, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's so, like, obvious part of the culture, bad, sure, absolutely. But it's like, there's, like, almost nothing about, like, the fact that they would genuinely just find any group of people around and just turn them into a bunch of slave labor camps and towns that would be legitimate to other government areas in other states, and they would have to play ball with these fuckers. There are kid pirate, riverboat pirates, not often even stated that they were a thing. Like, they're kind of like, they were there. No. They would go and fucking pillage, like, Vikings adults so they could continue having more children to fucking have more pirates. Like a real thing. That's a real thing. Then it's like, look at this one. I love this one. This is in the like 1920s, more or less. That was literally just orgy parties in the middle of parks around all of America. Like, oh yeah, no, that's so totally something that we would have just been told about in our elementary or high school or even college, fucking history. But it's like they're really very much well known things. They would just storm some fucking apartment building and here's the shocking part, all races. It didn't matter religion or race. It didn't. I mean that. They'd just go fucking storm a fucking apartment or house and they'd just fucking take you and you were just going to be used. That's all you had. The cops helped. Legitimately, they actually helped these fuckers. Then they were like, oh, we're just going to go back to being nomadic or whatever. And it's like, what? Yeah, never faced a single fucking charge or crime. Then they turned into these tribal fucking, it's like, I hate the fact that you did this. Oh, this was fear, love, and then it's like they would just fucking war against each other. There are genuinely distinct fucking people that can trace their lineage back to those people. Even corporations to helping the pirates and more that exist today. Not a joke. I mean it. Like, you can do that. Then there's like this huge waxing and waning. Like, we're super clever. We learn and figure out science and all this other stuff. And then there's like hyper conservatism, just super traditional weird thing that's going on when there's a hyper progressive happening like almost constantly, right? And it's like, that's nothing when you really break that down, because that's just the middle. That's right, that's the middle of the bell curve. Because we went through like, oh, we're going to suddenly have like these progressive things and we're going to change the Constitution to like, no, the Constitution's saying. Then we're going to have these amendments, no, socialism, women right to vote, kids valid, all this other stuff. New. You know what I mean? And then there's like a huge history over the entire span of America here that showcases when kids here, were taught to look out for this shit, or you're valid and what you think and what you feel and your emotions, and here's how to be careful and so on and so on. Like, they did just fine and had decades in a relationship with an adult, like, for real. And then, oh, this bourgeois, we're so smart, aristocrats, so better, protect child, comes rearing its ugly head, traditional conservatism crap that just, boom, tanks it. I'm not even kidding. Like, you can see them suddenly have, like, clear issues with trauma, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, drug use, and galore. And it doesn't seem to occur when this is going. And it's time after time. Every 100 damn years, like, it seems to be a consistent one. And there's like this new gender, but it's like, that's the religion, the puritanical part that seems to always be around, underlying so much of this shit, versus like, ooh, the progressive. And it's like, here's the real two ends of the bell curve. It's like, you got this fucking flat earth society that runs the nuke program. Like, literally, there's quite a few people linked to that literally run our nuclear warheads in America that are tied to people that believe in a flat earth. And then there's like ultra hardcore conservative that's super progressive, like technologically, science, physics, all this shit, but definitely like, the whole 9 yards with evangelical levels of religion. Then it's like, guess what? The majority of the time in America was a polyamorous, polygamy, polyfidelity style of marriage and relationships that existed in America the majority of its fucking life that it has been America. That's not even a joke. But then it's like, oh, all of a sudden monogamy, that's the big thing. And it's like, yeah. And then you can see it wax and wane where it's like they need to be productive and all of a sudden women have the right to vote and they can work. You know what I mean? Woo! Progression. But it's like, wait, what the fuck? And it's like kids need to fucking learn they'll be productive later on. What? Boom! Kids now get school. What the fuck? You ever notice that? It's like they appealed to this part of that capitalistic part. And it's like, no, we're not even fully done yet. These are real things that you can find. I'm not kidding. That are real, legitimate, actual history of America. They're just not talked about. It's like, it hadn't and really has not ever gone away in America. Just a FYI, a lot of the QAnon and Republican, donations and so on, like they go to people that are, 1,000, maybe low millionaires that have bought land that are effectively slave labor, but like they just have people come over there because they want to do that. You know what I mean? They basically sign their life away doing that. And they have a government in town and all this other shit. There's kids back in the day, not now, but back in the day, because we're talking like kind of like a cult religion thing, ran a government. Yeah, like they literally ran the town and government and all the adults. The kids did that. It wasn't even that long ago. Like that 20s stuff carried on all the way, those little orgies and shit, to the 50s. Your grandparents are old enough to remember that. Like, that's a real thing. The 1800s are fucking insane. Like, for real. If you look at America, like, you legitimately don't even know, bro. Like, for real. Like, America's a weird culture in history. Like, the culture was effectively like a sex hedonistic Roman, then super puritanical, what the fuck progressive, what is this? Doesn't make sense, right? And those pirates didn't stop until like the 1800s. That's not even a joke. They literally kept going for a long time. Those there's mass murderers just roaming around, just fucking anyone, killing them. Who's going to stop us until you stop us with death? They would get fucking far, man. Like, it's insane. The amount, and it's like, we're really good at fighting each other and fighting others. And it's like, cool. So, like, you clearly had a lot of issues going through your painful beginnings as a country here. And, like, it showcases, like, some of the issues and progression and, like, resistance to change and so on that exists in your culture and society, especially since you came over as a super, ultra, hardcore, puritanical, religion offshoot because, like, you were willing to allow for things in the UK that you, puritanical people, no, we can't. You know what I mean? And it's like, then they got egalitarianism, shocker, from the Native Americans. And they liked it. You know what I mean? It's like, there are a lot of fucking moments and it's like, you never understand this underlying, like, little sexuality, even with the kids. I'm not even kidding, man. Like, for adults to kids, or kids to adults, that's always just seemingly, like, vaguely present in, like, depending on who you ask and so on. Like, all of a sudden, this is far more okay than you thought they would be okay with. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah. And same thing with, like, how people just let it happen. You know what I mean? Like, so they were, harmed a little or groomed a little or whatever. It's like, what? And that's a thing. And same thing with sex. Oh, she's got a penis. It's like, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear nothing about that. None of that happened. You know what I mean? That's what that is, right? That's a woman, Like, not even a joke. And it's like, that's so common throughout history. Like you go through journal after journal after journal after journal. There's so many newspapers too, and then there's this like straight up recorded ass history of people fucking literally like drawing the paintings, and like it exists in historic art, and archivalists and so on. Like it's historians is what I meant, but like it exists. Like you can find this. It's public record. Like remember that whole slave labor thing? It's still happening. You thought like this idea that we're starting to now really get rid of this conversion therapy, right? And it's like it hasn't really fully gone away, but it's like no, that's nothing. There are so many cults that still exist. There were never-ending amounts of cults. It seemed like in the beginning, in the birth of fucking America, like worship this, kid that, women, matriarchy, patriarchy, men this, like all the fucking things they could have done. It all happened already. Like this fucking shit that I see on either side of these fences, take a look at the history, already happened, bro. Like not even a joke. Like you think that's something? That's nothing, man. And it's like, this is just America culture that they don't want you to know. And by they don't want you to know, I mean, I'm talking like, this is not necessarily the nicest, like I'm going to put on my shiny teeth and my nice hair and I'm going to dress real nice and I'm going to present myself in really a casual business and I'm whatever, you know what I mean? Like to the rest of the world. But it's like, if you really look at that, because that history isn't just in our books. It's in other people that visited and knew what was going on. It's confirmed multiple ways. And it's just not taught, like much, if at all, ever. Like gay people, oh my God. They were so more accepted than they are today throughout almost all the way into like the 1870s. Like for real. It's intense. It's like they had more rights, they had more power, they had more like accepted and understand for that than like anything today, if I'm being really realistically honest. And it's the same like occurrence with like the smart progressive, engineer, science, so on. Right? It's like, all of a sudden, oh man, this is so hard work, I don't want to deal with it. And then they go away. And then, like, all of a sudden, there's like, nope, none of that happened. That amendment didn't get passed. This didn't happen. That kind of shit that gets swept under the rug. And shit just like, oh, no. And then next thing you know, oh, yeah, that's a thing. I remember that. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking to an older individual, and it's like, all of a sudden, yeah, no, I remember that. You actually, yeah. And you dig into it, and it's like, next thing you fucking find is that it was there all along. Like, it's not a joke. The kid argument has been going on for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, basically before America came around. Like, it's not a joke, man. Like, same thing with women, too. Like, the various different, and it's like, it boiled down into the same thing that we use for BDSM now. Power difference dynamics. Literally, boiled down back then into that. That's what it was. It's like, yeah, no, well, some people like this and some people like doing that. And it's like, it works, it seems like. And shit gets done. And it's like, well, there's some degree of blah, 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 for, we call it abuse. Them, it's like negative action, decision, consequence, and some unfortunate unproductivity happening. Like, think how cold and callous they used to be about the whole thing. But it's like, that's a thing, man. That's a real thing. Like, they had that already. Nothing's really changed. We just changed the words. Everything's been the same. Nothing's really changed. See what I'm saying? Like, it all of a sudden, oh, it gets worse. There's some stress. We need to do blah, 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 blah. Just ride that wave out. What the fuck? Same fucking thing happened. Same thing. And it's like, America has a really fucking insane level of, like, history here and weird culture. Like, weird culture, weird history. And it's not weird, though, because it's like, you think America has problems, man? Because it's like, seriously, they're not in any way close to most of the fucking rest of the countries that exist on this planet that still have versions of that going on, just like America. It's not a joke. Like there are a literal Jeffrey Epstein level island in several parts of America where kids are just there and they're happy or whatever, right? Like they wouldn't be considered that to some people, but like because they're groomed or whatever. But it's like no. Like they just have sex or whatever. It's just like a normal thing. They still get taught about physics and all the rest of it, and like the differences of all these other things. And it's like it's never in a mainstream media post. You know what I mean? It's never gonna come out, right? Like that. But like a lot of right wing and left wing too is tied to it based upon donations and various fucking like little corporations and companies that have this that they donate to that eventually gets back to them, and they produce their own food and their own like it's pretty crazy, right? And it's like they exist right now in 2023, not a joke. Like that's a real thing, and it's been going on for decades. Like everybody's after Jeffrey, but it's like billionaires they're not a part of this really, if we're being honest. Like they're really not. It's not even like multiple hundreds of millions or even like tens of millions. Like there's only a few millionaires. Most of them are just regular fucking like us, poor ass motherfuckers. And a couple of thousand to like, millionaires, right? And it's like that's what is going on with that. Pretty crazy stuff, right? But it's like that's a real thing. Like you can actually find that. It's like for me, I'm like, oh man, if I had saved these fucking links. But that was back when Google would actually display things like that. You know what I mean? And they weren't paid to or able to be paid to effectively remove things off of their search engine. Like we've later found out multiple times over like the whole time of 2010 and even 2020. It you know what I mean? It's pretty intense, but if you do a little bit of legwork, you can fucking find this shit. And it's not that hard or difficult. It's just like, holy shit, man. And it's like most of you probably tuned out by the time I started talking about the whole kid stuff or whatever. But it's like there's drug shit, there's cult shit, there's like hedonist, fucking cult or religion or government. Like they're technically speaking their own fucking entire government and country within inside of our country. There's nomadics, which by the way, those nobody stopped them from tribal warring. There was scalping. Cannibalism occurred, just straight pillaging of another fucking area and just raping people. It's indiscriminate, man. It's pretty fucking intense when you look into their actual history that happened, because they're like the Himalayas, right? It's like no, these are not those fuckers. That's insane, right? Like it's intense, right? But it's like all that was from a trigger on TikTok, because like America has no culture, and then it's it was Reddit or TikTok or Reddit, whichever one it was, but it was like there's Starbucks, a standard white shirt, jeans, so on, like that's what they say it for. But it's like, yeah, because truthfully speaking, it's not like something that is easily, found out without persons doing a little digging to get to it, because it's not just, oh yeah, no, hey there, fifth grader, we're going to teach you about how women would just nomadically roam around in between the forests and plains and just hit towns and then just fucking literally fuck a bunch of either kids or adults and get pregnant, and then they would kill them and eat their bodies. That's a real American thing. And it's white women. That's a real thing. That's a real actual thing. And man, you look into it, like you think it's not going to be a thing, right? And then you do a little, and it's there. It's a real thing. They don't teach you about it, right? And you have to do it. You have to do that work. But it's like there are other people that were just like really interested in it, and they just kept going down that rabbit hole, finding this shit that's just like not really talked about and probably won't be because like that looks bad for America. Especially with the war propaganda and everything else that happened around that time too. Over time, it's like you realize it's like there's a lot of history that's covered up, swept under the rug, and made to not be seen. Like we had doctors that were good at what they did. In fact, even knew things that we now know, or at least believed that that was a thing, and actively used that belief correctly to treat patients. And then they had quack doctors that would just fucking say whatever and con people. Like they have this weird, clever spin shit, and then there's like actual like fucking really other clever in a different way. And it's such an obvious like clash here. America has this fucking smorgasbord, huge bell curve of insanity to intense to weird to like good weird to bad weird to like you think that this is as bad as it was. We had really bad murder rates and rape of like anyone and everything for a while during like the late 1700s up to about 1830s throughout the entirety of our nation. War crimes were performed like they were normal shit all the time, and then we had like really passionate, like, incredible philosophers and people that were trying their damnedest to help fucking change this country to more progressive, rational, logical, reasonable, deductive, like the stuff that I do, kind of America. And it's like obvious as fuck that there are idiots. Like it's the same thing that started happening with me. It's like, well, you're not that, and you're lying, and this is actually you in psychosis, and none of this, and I'm not even gonna bother, that kind of stuff. And it's like, what do you know? That's literally almost verbatim the words used in so many news articles that you can fucking get from that time. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, not to mention that there are actual, like, witnessed and then recorded in many ways, written and so on, for posterity, for history, for what happened with people fucking having this debate and so on. And, like, it's literally that same idiot, and they had people fucking believing that, not in any way logical, but because it fits this bullshit belief and like total conservative traditional shit, that it got away from people, and it kept around because it's like, well, the societal and peer pressure here, it makes it so that way. It's like, you gotta have, and you think online there's some degree of like, shadow banning or whatever. There was no shadow. There's no shadow back then. It's all just out in the open, and they would fuck you over, bro. Like, no one would even bat an eye. Like, that's normal. Of course they're going to do that. They wouldn't even make a joke about it because it was, like, that level of shit. Like, really? That's in your history, man. And it's like, that's that motherfucker saying you're not logical, you're not the deductive, you're not saying things that are true, and you are in the psychosis here, that kind of thing. And it's like so easy to just like, but you didn't like even listen to any of the argument. Like, he went on for 5 minutes. Did you just like tune it out and then you started saying a bunch of bullshit the moment he said something that triggered you, to something you didn't like? It's like you in a nutshell back then. Like, not even a joke. It's like, that's America's history and its culture. And it's weird. And it hasn't changed. Look at that, man, It hasn't really changed much. It's still there, still going on. The whole thing still is going on and happening. Right underneath your noses. Not really hidden. It's public record, man. Like, there's a reason why you can find out why that money moves to there. That's public record shit. They have to pay taxes. They're a fucking thing. You know what I mean? They trade with their country. It's literally easy, if you know where to look, to find it. And it's like stupid how many people will never know, all because they'll never look. And it's like a great magician's trick almost. It's like, well, you'll have a bunch of mainstream media and all this other stuff, but we're just never going to really fucking pop up in that because, of course, they don't want us to. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I'll just fucking do this and no one's going to be able to do anything. And we'll feed them that information, but it's like, look how fucking stupid they are. They never even bother. Like, we're here saying that we would be wrong. Look at, they would try and kill us if you try and get out of here. You would just, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, they're not wrong. You have violent shit happening all the time over fucking bullshit. All the time. And it's legal where they're at. But it's like, oh, go over to this country, legal where they're at. But it's like, no, it's okay over there. But it's like, we're in a country. You know what I mean? See how fast it changes? It's like, it's in our land, though. It's like, that's not your land, bro. That's not how that works. You know? And it boggles the mind that someone, like, you would think maybe they're similar to Philip DeFranco or Hank Green or, Ethan or whatever his name is from Hasanabi. It's like they seem to be these caring, logical, smart individuals, and man, do they fucking showcase that they have glaring gaps in a lot of their logic and reasoning and understanding and acceptance and ability to process and really break down things and not do the black and white and you really figure out how to answer tougher questions than what they're doing now, because there's a crowd that says you better just black and white and all or nothing this shit or you are going to have so many problems. Or you better not say a fucking word. Literally don't have it come out of your mouth, you little bitch. I control you as the crowd, right? Same thing online for the website, right? It's like, what the fuck? It's like, how the hell do you get around? You know what I mean? So it's like this is a part of America. Like, that's a real America thing. They don't think it is, but it's a real America thing. And it's not even religion, man. Like, people just buy land and start doing that. That's a real thing. Like, oh my God, that's, tech, all these, rich people buy silicon, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's nothing. That's nothing. Honestly, that's nothing. It's just the more expensive area in America. Like, America's fucking huge. It's massive. You can easily hide this shit. And it's just never going to come out. Like, I'm not doing interviews. Fuck off, right? But it's like, it still exists in the paperwork. It still exists because there are some articles and there are people that did seek out and want to know anthropologically for science and study. There is a lot of history here in culture that's wildly different comparative to this online and culture and everything that would never be allowed. What they think, what they say, what they allow, and so on. It would be so illegal to straight up, they would try and get you put into a mental health asylum and kill you even. And like that's a regular American that's seen across and overseas. Not the one doing the real science and sees that there's a huge bell curve and there's like a large split and they'll actually like want to know. And there's an underlying current of like, man, I just want to fuck that thing, whatever it is, right? And I just want to make sure that nothing bad is going on. And I feel so bad and terrible because this religion, this law, this moral, this ethic, this philosophy, whatever it is. And, like, that's always been there, just, like, lurking. Gender identity? Are you kidding me? That thing came out in the mid-1700s. That shit was around, bro. Like, for realsies. And it's like, holy fuck, it does not get talked about. It's a thing. Like, America has such a fucking rich history of really getting pretty far, and then nothing. Like, these fuckers just have got this stranglehold on these assholes to just make them afraid but it's like if you look at where you came from as a puritanical fucking group of people and the shit you had to suffer and go through to make a country like you did, I would, I could see it. I could see it fucking trying to think that this would be, worthwhile to keep around because it seemed to be something that's working, but it never really quite worked. It's always boom, boom. You know what I mean? It's like I'm getting. But man, are we good at fucking killing each other? Are we good at like fucking rationalizing, justifying any like hate and pain and violence against change? You know what I mean? And it's like it expands. It's like we're going far in this internet thing. It's like no, we're not. We're doing the same thing. It's happening again. Look at them. They're just choosing something and it's happening again. It could literally be anything. It's insane. It's like it's such a weird culture because that is the boom bust cycle even of our economy that never got better. And they saw it from the moment America was made. They wanted to get rid of that. They wanted to actually, the forefathers themselves literally wanted to remove, you guessed it, capitalism. They understood. They saw the Dutch and what had happened. They wanted to remove that shit. That's a real fucking fact for you, though. Take that with a grain of salt when you say America has no culture or history. It has a weird one that's hidden away. There's a lot of richness and a lot of sex and hedonism, and there's a lot of stress relief, and there's a lot of coping skills, and there's a lot of fucking, I went really far and hurt a lot of people to, man, it was just okay to do these things. Like any other damn country. There is so much art. There is so much music. There is so much entertainment. There is so much creativity. You see America is like fucking huge on creativity, right? This is all underlying that creativity. There's these huge stories. Even the government, like a CIA, FBI, like the fucking beginnings before we even got near the 1900s when it started being anything at all. It's all there. It's very verifiable. There's a lot of proof. There's fucking so much there that shows it off. We're not talking Bible. Maybe there was like a pretty big flood and rain and some other shit. We're talking like this shit really happened, man. Like there's no denying that. And like that's intent, especially when it's like they're gonna come up with like no, you just misinterpreted blah 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 blah, and it's like actually if you dig into that, no, you're wrong. That's the fucking spin move that they put out during the propaganda to change the viewpoint and narrative, fake news basically, that happened all the way back then, and you got caught by the article. It even looks like it may be a legitimate science article, and it's not. It's a fake fucking history newspaper, bro. It's literally fake. It never happened like that. It is actually way worse. There's more than enough journal eyewitness and actual real happenings that it corroborates even with the anthropological, like, of the earth level shit, records we have that it happened. And it was that went down. Like, that's a real thing, man. Like, America is a fucking weird one, man. And it's like, it's clear we've always had this weird sexual hang-up, bro. You know what I mean with the puritanical? It's like, dude, just fucking want to fuck whatever the fuck you want to fuck, bro. It's okay. It's like, just fucking make sure everything's cool and consensual enough for everybody to not be traumatized and abused, right? That's all that you need. Like, fucking just teach and make sure you're good and everybody's good, man. You know? Like, fucking progress. Like, let's just admit that you want to help that motherfucker out. Or you don't. And you know what? You don't have to do nothing but do your regular old everyday bullshit. And, like, it'll happen. And you don't have to be a part of the knowledge that you help them out. Like, you donate blood, but you don't know where the blood went, right? You know, it's like, you probably don't give a fuck, really. You just donate blood. You see what I'm saying? It's like, let it be what it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's a lot of science and technology that we fucking figured out that just got put away and eventually had to be proven again. And there are multiple moments of that happened in America. Like, whoa, man. It's crazy shit to me. Like, for real. It's like, we found out, like, is that atomic nuclear physics back in the fucking early 1800s? There are genuinely legitimate papers here. Like fucking real theories that they tested that seems to suggest that that was a thing. What the fuck? Like for real. Not a joke. That's not a joke, man. Even like nuclear reactors that we were like Oppenheimer, right? No, man. Some dude basically made a version that's not really like what we have or what even Oppenheimer did, but like it was cooled and making steam and he made power from the fucker. That's a real thing. Yeah, like real actual American history. That's a real thing. Crazy, right? But it's not. See, that's the thing. It's not. Like, America has a huge history of covering up shit. Especially when it's like it might ruin my company or my views or my philosophy or this or that or whatever else. You know what I mean? And so it's like, they're not the only ones that did that. You think America got that from America? It's like, they watched their parents look at the other fucking countries and what they were doing at the time. Like, man, come on. So, anyways, America has a very rich history and culture of effectively a lot of sex, and just excusing large and many different types of it for the entire history, really, if we're being honest. You know, it's brutal when you think about it, and it's like, yeah, and also technology to varying degrees, you know. So, you know, and then like just racism, discrimination for various material, resource, monetary, societal, social, you know, those kinds of gains. Like you can literally trace it back with the history they have to like why that it is that we have these weird little qualms that keep sticking around about this shit, and even for like technology and like wanting to progress in certain places, you know what I mean? It's like, whoa. It's pretty intense. It hasn't happened since back then, but it's like I'm pretty sure that's because the civil rights movement really showed off that they were willing to just murder motherfuckers, you know, like like they were no longer on their side really practically at all. But it's like, dude, they really did just used to have fucking out in the open orgies and fucking just lots of shit, man. It's a real thing, you know. And that's America. That's not even that long ago, man. It's like your grandparents lived through shit that was probably more significant in their parents and their grandparents than you really think. Like they would like all back and you know, and they would be, and it's like, ooh, you have no real idea how really true they are. They're not senile. You just don't know about that history. That's a real thing, bro. And it's like, it's not bad. It's clear that there's like this genuine many people on that kind of side thing and looking to make it happen sort of stuff. And it's like, just let's put in the work together and let's do it. Let's not fucking be too hasty, but like let's just keep it going. Because like, you know, we saw what the history says and we really just seem to fucking peter out after a certain point. Don't get it done. Kind of need to focus and make sure it gets done. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a thing. Anyways, bye.